Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Enlightened Investor. I'm your host, Dr. Joshua Luer from Bradley University, and that there is Mr. Fiduciary Mike Mahoney. First, let's say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Joshua. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, where I guess we are in the first week of January.
Cold day.
Oh, record cold day, but we haven't had a chance to sit down and do one of these shows, and we're happy to do it because we've only started now. What is this? Last year we started. We've got 17, 18 videos up there.
50 subscribers.
50 subscribers.
Headed to a million?
To a million.
49.
Okay, 49.
Yeah, so that's Mr.
Right.
Producer
Yes,
Ryan here.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, folks. I hope that you found that the materials we put out have been beneficial to you. And today, I think we have another fantastic one. It's on achieving your financial goals and just goals in general. And I think we've walked through life, Mike, enough to know that there's people in life that are very skilled, adroit at what they do, but they're just lost in the wilderness because they have no objectives or goals in life and all things like relationships and money. And,
Well, I think there's a lack of being intentional, right?
Oh, lack of being intentional.
You got to be intentional.
Yep. And I think, folks, today is that since the start of the new year, let's talk about goals and those goals can be flexible. And let's start off with the New Year's resolutions. So what we have here is this year's top 10 resolutions for 2020, according to GoSkills.com. And you can see there, like, they're the typical things like lose weight, exercise more, get organized. The one I found, I taught Sunday school on Sunday, and there's nothing there with regards to like religious or theological. And you and I are working on investing, and there's only really one there about save more money and spend less. Try to do some budgeting, right? And I got a question. Travel more, right? Maybe you read more, right? I mean, successful
Well, I like
people.
to spend more time with family and friends. That's just a good one.
Yeah, I
would have to say I don't really have a goal list set up, but number 2, it's on my list.
Okay, you make it happen? Because watch
I'm
this,
working
guys.
on
Watch this, folks. Turn to the next slide. 64% of
Oh,
people.
yeah, that's the key. I probably had it last year too and didn't make it happen. You're right.
That's right.
I'm there.
Yeah. So in the first month, hey, I want to lose weight, but 64% of individuals abandon their goal or their resolution in the first month.
Wow.
I mean, why do people fail at their goals? I mean, they're not convicted.
Well, and you got to wonder how many percentage. I mean, if 64% fail, but think of what the percentage is that didn't even set a goal. That's probably a big number too.
That's true. I make my here. I showed you this a little bit. Mike kind of laughed at me, but I said what I do for my family is I have goals. I just have.
I was impressed.
I wrote them down.
That's great.
Yeah, I have my kids do it, and I have my wife do it, and we sit down at the end of the year and we kind of go over how we did and
I guess I have to say I set goals for so many. I do all my clients, right? So I guess I don't do it as often as I should for my own case. Like I do my clients every year and revisit it. Not to say I don't have goals, I don't do it, but it's kind of like the plumber. It's got a little leaky plumbing because you're always busy fixing everybody else's plumbing. So I'm not quite as formal as you, but I'm impressed.
Yeah, thanks. It's nice to impress.
But I do have some. Well, I mean, I have a goal, the bike thing too. I'm 4,000 miles a year.
Yes, I'm impressed with that.
That's the goal. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever you have.
Back to this.
Yeah. Back to this. Like. A goal without a plan is just a wish. If you want to achieve something, you need to have a plan, have a goal. I always tell my students at Bradley, I say, hey, you just don't wake up and become a CEO. You just don't wake up and have your own business, right? You have to see it in your mind and make it happen. So if you just need to put in place processes to make it work.
Right.
Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is like, setting goals is sometimes challenging, and sometimes you feel like a failure when you don't achieve them, and that's part of life. Is failure, right? It's part of life, and we can learn a lot from these great writers, these great motivational people. I don't know, like we love Larry Swado around here, Mike, don't we? But there's also Zig Ziglar. He's that positive thinking guy. There's Stephen R. Covey. If you read anything about Stephen R. Covey and the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I think Dave Ramsey does a great job with just putting out
especially for budgeting,
the common debt, the common man and women. Even Gary Keller, who's got some Gary Keller Williams offices around here. He's got a big real estate guy. But it's up to you to make your own reality. Do you want a good relationship with your spouse? It's up to you. Do you want to have a good physical physique and health? It's somewhat up to you. It's up to your genes
Well,
too.
and
It's up
also,
to you.
our whole process here is what financial independence, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And if you want financial independence, how do you get there? It's up to you to make a plan and to get there, to achieve it. And it takes time. And I think that's part of it, Mike, is I think some people say like, I have a plan to get to $1 million at age 60, but that's such a far distance off. I'll just wait. I'll wait to implement my plan because I have so much time. But they forget that the most powerful thing is compounding takes place when you're younger. So to make the plan and to make it plain, you've got to like start out with these financial plans, unless you just have a big windfall, which most Americans don't.
Yeah, because you're going to get into savings, so I'll wait and talk about that.
Yeah. Okay, so here's some keys to turning your goals into reality. And so we've got 6 of them here. We've talked about these. We've taken them a little bit from certain people like Dave Ramsey. We've taken some from other places. But number 1, they must be specific, right? Like I want, Mike, your plan is to have 4,000 miles on bike every year. That's impressive, but that's a specific goal. And it has to be measurable, right?
Correct.
Like,
right.
How about like, I want to obtain that $1 million nest egg financially by 60. That's measurable, right? You just can't say, I want to be wealthy. Well, what does that mean? You have to measure it. Like, I want to lose weight. Well, how much weight? I want to lose 20 pounds. You have to be able to measure it. And then you have to put a time limit on it, right? So you've got a year for your biking. I've got what is the limit that you want? I want to reach this goal by, if I want to lose weight, 5 pounds in the first quarter, 10 pounds in the second quarter, and get to my goal. Number 4 on turning your goals into reality is for your goals to work, you need to have it written down.
I'm sorry.
I
have it up here.
Yeah, or have it up here,
Yeah.
right? Number 5, the only goals that works are your goals. Isn't that true, Mike? Is it, it would make me miserable maybe if I had the same goals as you, even though you're my friend.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work because I'm a different person. And maybe your mom, who I met, she's a lovely person.
Yes.
She maybe wanted you to be a dentist.
Oh.
Could you imagine if you were a dentist, Mike, instead of who you are right now? So that's the thing, is that you have to you have to have your own goals.
Sure.
And if your wife wants you to do this and that, right? Like this is her goal.
Well, and also you get caught up in keeping up with the Joneses too, and that can skew your goals as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the last thing is, I think, remember, without goals, you and your organization will suffer. And I threw in that where there is no vision, the people will perish. So I know a lot of you are watching, are business owners. When you set goals, sit down with your own people and work together on goals. Because if you just say like, this is our goals this year, without asking them for input, well, that for them it's just like where's their buy-in?
Yeah, I will say this about goals too. I think when we're having conversations with clients and you're looking at your goals, in the long run, your goals are tied to your values, hopefully, and your purpose. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times that goes, the financial part's important in there, but in the end, your true success comes from, that final purpose we have in our lives and our values. And it's really important to tie that to your goals.
Yep, and I don't know if any of you got Mike's Christmas card this year. We did, and he had his goal was like, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. Hope you spend time with the things that you enjoy and love, and that was your grandson and your wife. And I thought that was pretty awesome.
I left my bike out, and my son, the producer.
The producer.
Sorry.
All right, so let's talk about financial goals here.
Yeah, okay.
Financial goals.
Yes.
I think one of the things that Mike and I talk about is like, you have to have a higher purpose than just accumulation. And I'm gonna, so you said that it has to be like part of like your values. And I'm going to give you a story here just from economics, an old economics professor who we have to give stories. Adam Smith is the father of economics. He wrote a book called The Wealth of Nations. And in that book, which I have my students read, is the story of the poor man's son. And The Poor Man's Son is a great story about ambition and hard work and the desire for accumulation and having a better life. But what ends up happening is this poor man's son who finds that the furnishings of his family's house aren't good enough. At the end of his life, he's accumulated much wealth and success, made a lot of jobs for other people, led by the invisible hand to promote an end to which he had no intention, bettering the society by entrepreneurship and wealth creation. He found that like true contentment was he wishes he would have spent more time with his family. He wishes he may have spent more time on things that he valued instead of just accumulation. So I think what we want to say here is that, having financial goals are important, but just for the sake of accumulation, there's a term we call avarice, like just greed for greed's sake, avarice. That's not where you want to go, folks. You want to have accumulation for a purpose that aligns with your values. So,
in the end, that's how you provide fulfillment.
and that's how
Or
you
it's just
provide.
empty, right?
Yep, that's right. And having a good solid nest egg gives you options in life to do the things you want to do, and I think that's an important thing to say.
Yeah, peace of mind is huge.
Peace of mind is huge. All right, so when you do have your financial goals, Mike has found over the years. How many years have you had Cypress?
21.
21 years. How many people have written financial goals, Mike?
The prospective people walking in the door, I think I've had one.
Yes. So there is no plan. There is no process. There's only just usually a product that's picked out by random advisors.
Right.
That may or may not be a fiduciary.
Probably not.
And I do think that for most Americans that aren't into this, that having someone on their side to walk them through a plan, a process, and a product is really important. And I think Vanguard says that fiduciaries add about 3%.
Getting help from a financial advisor overall can be up to 3%. And I think Michael Kitsis breaks that down as well, and we can put that up here and let the people look through the different areas. But there's a number of ways where you can intentionally add value and focus on what you can control rather than so much of this nomenclature of, well, we're going to be tactical, and it sounds really good, and I think people like to hear that every year because there's always something new that you can try every year.
Yeah.
But there is no empirical data or evidence that shows that that's the case. And quite frankly, Vanguard backs up the Kitsis data because Vanguard manages like $7 trillion, so they know what they speak, right? Versus all this empty commentary.
And I think one of the things that Mike just said is that, when you have the solution, when you have a diversification, once you know certain foundations of investing, it seems like it's old hat, but it's stuff that really works, right?
Right. Can I get on my soapbox again for a minute? And this is
It's
something I
easy
think we
for
just
you to do.
have
Go
to
ahead.
repeat, right? Because there's a lot of advisors out there, a lot. And unfortunately, 85% of them are not fiduciaries. And it's real simple to determine whether your advisor is a fiduciary. If your advisor is licensed and at the bottom you see the company he works for and they say they're registered with FINRA, or if they got an insurance license, which many of them do because they want to sell the life insurance, they want to sell the annuities, or they want to sell the securities and get the commissions, that's why FINRA's there. Those are not fiduciaries. They can be a fiduciary and take the hat off and become a salesman because they're duly licensed, and it gets really murky. But if you just want to clean it up and you want to start from the beginning with your plan, before you start the plan, to be sure you're getting good advice, is you want to work with an advisor that is a fiduciary only. They can't get a commission. They're fee only, and it makes a world of difference. And quite frankly, most people just have so much difficulty with that because I'm sure the person they're working with is a nice person. They're personable. You can trust them. But still, their structure's not designed to be client-centric. It still has its flaws. And why not just remove that flaw and know that you have someone that's putting your best interest forward at all times? And they're not out to sell you something. When I have a client that needs insurance, I don't go, wow, that whole life policy, if they buy that, I make such a huge commission, when in reality, they're probably much better off buying that term policy. Or, wow, that annuity, I could take and make 8% commission on $1 million purchase $80,000 for a couple hours of work and fear mongering, and I don't have to do any work in the future. It's a great way. There's tons of money being made with this, but unfortunately, it's not good advice.
Yep.
And most people don't get it because I deal with that. Literally every new prospective client I have typically has a broker / dual licensed advisor.
Yep, wear two
and they
hats.
don't have a plan again, right? And it's dual. Normally they have 2 or 3. Their diversification is, well, I put some money here, here, and here, and that's my plan.
Yep.
Sorry, soapbox.
No, I mean, you live it all the time.
Constantly.
And let's give our viewers actually numbers behind some of these things that you just said about using fiduciary principles to kind of give clients the optimum chance of success. So I have a story here that I want to share with you about Lisa. Lisa, who is 25 years old, she's single right now. She makes $60,000 of salary, and she does have a 6% employer match. So that means that she'll put in $3,600 per year, and her employer put in $3,600 per year. This process of wealth accumulation is a long process, and people have to have stick-to-itiveness. Which is where people like Mike come in. But let's see, can she achieve her goal of having she's throwing on a number, we did actually, in 35 years have $1 million for retirement at age 60. Let's take a look, and we'll take a look at things that you can control. So I didn't know if I want, not every one of our listeners and watchers are going to enjoy some of this formula here, but I think it's actually not too hard to understand. And I want to show you what you can control and what you can't control. So right here on the slide, you can see the future, Lisa's 401k valuation is equal to her yearly investment times this mathematical formula, which is really just a compounding formula over the years. And some of the variables that are in there is N, which is the number of periods. R is the rate of return, and yearly investments. So Lisa,
Sorry,
no problem.
lady.
Yeah. This is a working office. So Lisa can control how much she puts in and saves every year, and that's what you can control too. And she can also control her N, the number of periods, but she can't control her rate of return. So what we can do is that R, that rate of return that's what we call R is we'll show this next slide. Can Lisa achieve her $1 million goal? Well, it kind of depends. It depends on what vehicle she's invested in. If she puts all her money into cash and bonds that maybe earn 2.5% per year over the 35 years of her working lifetime, she's not going to quite get there. You have to take a little bit of risk, especially when you're young, right?
Right.
So at 5%, she gets 65% of the way there. But at 7.5% and 10%, where maybe she has a diversified portfolio, the 10% is a little high. But at 7.5%, I think most people in the room can kind of nod their head. We can get there. She can get there.
If she diversifies a portfolio, yes. If it's not market-based, but we'll save that for another video. But yes, I agree.
But how about this, Mike? So, how can she remain vigilant? How she can control certain things, but how can she maybe influence her R, her rate of return? You mentioned diversification is your friend.
Right. Well, number one, you want to focus on cost too, in addition to diversification. And by using index funds and index ETFs or asset class funds and asset class ETFs, keep your costs very low.
Yep. I'm a big believer in index funds. And also maybe you could have a little bit more weight in some areas like small cap.
Right, yeah. You could start, a good place to always start the portfolio is, a market portfolio in the U.S., and then you want to diversify beyond the U.S. into international. And then when you diversify in stocks, you can go from large stocks to small stocks, value stocks to growth stocks. And if you balance that out long term, you'll have a higher expected return on the portfolio. Nothing's, I say hopefully because you can't, it's never ironclad, but the data there historically long term bodes well for that approach.
Yeah, so be like Lisa on this hypothetical example. She set a goal, she had a time frame, she followed those 5 or 6 steps to fulfilling a goal in a certain time frame, and she did it over time. And so it takes patience. The power of compounding will really be there for you. And Mike and I, we would love to sit down and talk to you about achieving your financial goals in 2022. You can do it. Sometimes if you don't know where to start, there's some books that free websites. We have our own website.
Yeah. It helps to once you get it all in place at least once a year, or maybe if something in your life changes, obviously you want to revisit it sooner, but just revisit it once a year. It's easy.
Yep. So anyways, this is the Enlightened Investor team talking to you today about 2022 and setting
Happy New Year.
goals. And Happy New Year.
Stay warm.
All right, we're out.
Bye.
Take care.